part of what's going on today. But honestly, guys, the reason that anything becomes mass appeal has nothing to do with that. That's still a very niche market, right? The mass appeal market, SMU is absolutely 100% right. I cannot disagree at all, is because things are easier to use. Why is Apple dominating smartphones and why is Apple dominating tablets? Is it because they have the best hardware? No. Is it because they run the most efficient operating system? That's arguable, but I would say no, right? The reason that Windows 7 is such a much better operating system than Vista, besides of it being a much thin and trimmer version of it, and the reason that Apple dominates where it dominates is because they have made a very rich, easy-to-use experience. That's it, guys. That's it. It's streamlined, but it's rich and it's powerful. It does all the things you need to do and gets out of the way. And that's why they are excelling so well right now. So in the thrust of all of this, that Chrome laptop becomes the easiest thing to utilize, because it only utilizes anything that's web-based, which is already something that all of us are very familiar with. So it really takes that experience and builds it around the web. And I think that easier to use thought was great insight and really does lend itself well to the new paradigm that Google's trying to build. Now I'm going to get in. Those were your contributions. I want to get into what I'm talking about. And geez, I'm only running at about 16 and a half minutes. This is going to be a long one, guys. So here's a story for me that happened this week. This week I had to bust out. I was looking at getting the most recent version of my resume to be able to do some tweaking and some editing for some purposes that I will reveal later. But was doing a little bit of work on it. The point is I needed to get it, the most recent copy, to be able to edit it. Well, how do you guys store your resumes? I'll tell you how I store a lot of my documents. I've got a few versions online. I've got a few versions on an external hard drive or my desktop PC. But how I mostly keep up with it is a USB thumb drive. Well, this very week, I actually pulled out my ultra-reliable, had it for probably 2 or 3 years, USB thumb drive with a lot of great stuff on it. The most recent versions of everything that I run. I plugged it in, and guess what? Dead like doornail. No mas. So anyway, I lost that, and I was really scrambling to try to find it, and I went and talked with my friend about it, and he said, you know, just get that resume in the cloud, man. You'll never have to worry about it ever again. Get a Dropbox or something like that, which I do have. And that was really what got me thinking about it, guys. And it really got me to a point where I started to think to myself, man, because I started to shop for a replacement USB drive, and I just thought, no, why would I do that? I don't need it. I'm just going to go and create this thing online and throw it into more cloud-based solutions, and I'll be done with it. I'll have it wherever I need it, no matter if I have a thumb drive or not. Now, I probably will end up replacing the thumb drive, but that's a different story. In any case, it really got me thinking about this Chrome concept. Guys, I really like this concept. I think it's a great concept, because I think if you take the question that I asked, if you took all the functions that you utilize in your laptop, now if your laptop is your only computer, then this doesn't pertain to you. But if your laptop is just a laptop, it's a secondary computer or a work computer or whatever the case might be, right? What do you actually do with that laptop? What I do are fairly basic things. I do web surfing. I do some document editing, whether that be Excel spreadsheets or Microsoft Word documents or whatever the case, my PowerPoints, right? And not a whole lot else in terms of really utilizing a laptop as a secondary computer. That being said, everything I just talked about, I could easily do within a browser, and a lot more. I can do things like play Quake Live, right? I mean, I could do pretty intensive stuff now with that Linux distro. I could run a whole full-blown PC engine right inside my browser. The point is, guys, I really like this concept because it allows us to break away from that traditional paradigm. And I think eventually, and some of you hinted on it with a little more sci-fi piece in it where we have these implants, and I'm not ready to go there yet. But what I am ready to do is say that we should be able to access both public, which a lot of you are very afraid of, and I don't blame you, I am too, and more private clouds, which I'm not afraid of, and I think is absolutely more of the way of the future, where we can basically just throw everything we have, not have to worry about it, whether we host it ourselves or we host it in the public cloud, or we just image it. We have redundancy there. We redundantly image it to the public cloud. And that way we keep our data where it needs to be, and we just move on from there. I love that thought. I love that idea, and I think it's something we could definitely utilize in the future. That being said, I wasn't talking about the Google Chrome laptop specifically, so I was talking about the concept, and I think the concept is very good. I think it's one we're going to move to a lot more. The phones and things like that we have now, I think with a lot of, say, an SSD kind of drive and flash capacities that are out there now, I think we'll be able to easily do things like take pictures, all that kind of stuff, and instead of having them on the phone, which then has to sync here, sync there, and Microsoft's done a great job of that with Windows Phone 7, by the way. I've been very impressed with their syncing. Why sync? You're connected to a data network wherever you are with one of those phones. Why not just be able to take the pictures that are basically stored there, and as long as there's a connection to the WAN, as long as there's a connection out to your service provider, why not be able to get that back home where it belongs and just get it off the phone? I think that could absolutely work in that case. It doesn't make people like me that root their phone very happy, because we like to do a lot of things, make it do things it wasn't necessarily designed to do. But again, that's more of the part of the traditional paradigm. So, guys, I think the concept is great. I'm not ready to declare it the all wonderful part of the future. I think that our desktops cannot be replaced by this yet. The desktop still really has a tremendous amount of use for things that are local. I know for editing this video, for example, there's no great way to do that web-based right now. I'm not saying there won't be in the future, and I'm not saying the pipes that go to our houses won't be bigger so that we can do something like that, virtualized in the future. But right now, I can't do it. So, but I think it's got a tremendous amount of promise. Google's going to be able to do this ridiculously cheaply. You'll be able to get this thing for probably $20, $25 a month on a 2-year contract. And then after that, it'll probably be yours, and you can use it however you like, and then just pay the service provider bills. So I think it's a great concept, and I really look forward to seeing how this is going to play out in the future. Thanks always for your contributions, guys. Great conversation. Fewer folks chiming in this week, but that's okay. Great quality all around. So I will always take quality over quantity any day of the week, and I know that isn't a sign that you guys aren't watching me anymore. I can just tell. So anyway, maybe you were screaming for more video game stuff, and so that's what I'm going to do this week. I'm going to give you an embarrassing fact that some of you are going to question my gamer street cred, or as I've been hearing recently from one of my friends, my draft stock. Maybe it's going to hurt my draft stock, but I have just procured a copy of the original Assassin's Creed, a game that I have not yet played, or had not yet played before I purchased it. I'm sorry for all of you that are now pulling your hair out and going, wow, the Commodore is a poser. I just got it. I just started playing it. I got really behind. I always knew I wanted to play it. I love Ubisoft. I've seen it played a lot. I've seen a lot of footage on it, but, as we all know, seeing a game and playing a game are two very different experiences. Assassin's Creed is fantastic. I understand the limitations of the concept. I understand the repetitiveness of it. I understand all those kinds of things. But one of the things I think it did so incredibly well was really encompass a setting. Sure, it's fantasy, but it's got a lot of reality based in it, and it's got a very cool kind of setting, and they do a great job of making the world focus around that setting, right? And I think it's the music, everything really gets encompassed into this world that they've created that, yes, it is Jerusalem, yes, it is the Middle Ages, yes, it does have the Crusades going on, but we all know it's kind of a fantasy version of that. Well, I got to thinking, man, it would be really cool to just spend a couple hours in that world and just see what it's like, even if it was just from a bird's eye view, just to fly around there and see that setting and kind of see the sights, see the things as they're happening, understand the mood, listen to some of the people talk. Not that I could have understood any of them, except for when some of the English folks went down there. I might be able to understand some of their language, but even then it would probably be fairly limited. Anyway, the point is, it got me thinking. And here's what I'm going to ask for the weekly ringer for next week. What I want you guys to ask for me is, what setting from a video game would you most like to spend just a few hours being a part of? Now, I don't want to turn this into a universe conversation where, oh, if I could be someone in this universe, that's a different question. Maybe I'll ask that some other time. What I want to know is if you could just kind of dip in for a little while and just be a part of a video game scene or a video game setting, right? Or a video game, even if it is just a video game universe that you could be a part of for just a couple hours. What would you jump in just to see what it was like? I think it's relatively self-explanatory, but I can't wait to see where you guys are going to take this. Always get great answers when I ask questions like this. I will give you my own answer next week, as I always do. So, but I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So that's the weekly ringer question for next week. Thanks, as always, for watching, guys. I really appreciate your support and your comments moving forward. And as always, thanks so much for being a part of the community. It is great to have you on board. So that is the weekly ringer for this week. I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.